Marketing Food Online, this is Damien, and we are going to get into commonly required food truck permits and licensing, what you may need to have to legally operate your food truck, and we're going to get to it right now. All right, this is Damien, and this is Marketing Food Online. This is YouTube's premier food entrepreneur channel, bringing you all kinds of tidbits and information about how to start your food business, either from home or get into a commercial kitchen or even get a retail food product onto store shelves. In this episode, we are going to talk all about food trucks. We're going to get into discussing what type of food permits and licensing you may need to have for your food truck. You want to get that taco truck up and running? And if you're looking for that used food truck that's for sale and you're thinking to yourself, well, if I get that, what kind of permits and licensing will I need? We're going to cover that right now. So let's jump into it. So number one of the most important aspects of running any type of business, including a mobile food business such as a food truck, you're going to need a business license. Now, this will be highly dependent upon the type of city and the state that you're working in. And it will be dependent upon what type of a food truck you're going to have. And what I mean by that is if you're having to if you're doing catering jobs, if you're going to be going to events, there are going to be different types of business licenses that will be issued by either the city or the county that you're in. So make sure that you distinguish yourself as to what type of service you're going to provide when you are doing that. And in some cases, aside from the actual license fee itself, there is also some states actually have a percentage of the sales that you actually make are going to go to the state or the county, depending upon where you are as well. So that's something that a lot of food truck newbies, if you're going to just be getting into the business, are unaware of. But sometimes it's not only just that yearly fee, but it could be a percentage of what you make annually. So the business license is one potential license that you may need, of course, to have. Now, the next one up, if you are going to operate a very busy food truck and you can't do it all by yourself, so you're going to have employees. Now, in order for you to legally operate and have a handful of employees that you will be paying, the IRS has an identifier number, which is the EIN, okay? That's an employer identification number, and that's going to allow you as a business owner to make sure that you're legally paying your employees, you're filing taxes and such. So that's the number that the IRS would actually distinguish you as a business owner. Now, to keep that in mind, that is something that I think you would need to really personally do upfront first with the business license, is to apply for that EIN, because you know that you're going to be having employees, you're going to have some help on hand. So you want to make sure you do it, and plus you do it within the rule of the law set up by the IRS and such, as far as paying your employees. So make sure that you do that, because you want to protect yourself when you're starting your food truck. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind as you listen to the rest of this video, permits and licenses from time to time, local municipalities such as cities and counties, they'll update those laws and they'll kind of change them from time to time. There may be some permits that were no longer needed. Sometimes annually they'll review those types of licenses and such for food truck operators, and you may not have to always renew them, or there may be a license that they've done away with. So on an annual basis, double check and make sure you stay on top of what is required locally, okay? Now the next one's going to be the vehicle license, okay? So whoever you have operating the vehicle itself, make sure that they are properly licensed to drive the vehicle, okay? This is ultra important, especially when it gets down to liability questions, because you are a business that is quote unquote kind of on wheels, a restaurant on wheels. You may not necessarily, as the owner, be driving all the time. You may have your staff driving the vehicle, but you, in some cases and in some states, they actually require a commercial driver's license to operate food trucks, which is something that a lot of new food truck entrepreneurs may not be aware of. They just think they can pick up their license and drive. Some states, you got to have a specific license because of the size, okay? It may be the weight, the length, the overall weight of the entire vehicle itself. Doesn't necessarily classify as a standard driver's license. So be aware that you may have to have a specific commercial license as well. All right, so the next one up, if you're looking to operate a food truck or a food cart and you want to get that business up and running, you may need, in some states and cities actually require what's known as a food handler's permit. Okay, so either you as the owner or the operator or one of your employees during the time that you're actually transacting business on the food truck, one of them have to have that type of food safety class permit. Now that's something that's required not in every state, but you may want to double check with your state and your city or the county. They may require that, and it's a very simple permit to get. The food handlers courses, a lot of them actually are done online nowadays. And it doesn't cost a lot, and it's normally just a one-time thing. You don't have to get it every year or renew it. But it's definitely something that you want to be aware of, that the food handler's permit may be required. So that's another one that you may not have known about. The next permit up is going to be the health department permit. Now, this is something that is very similar to what a restaurant is required to have. Of course, the health department, as you may or may not know, they inspect restaurants for cleanliness and the way that they're handling the food preparation, food storage. So as a food truck, technically you are kind of a restaurant on wheels, really. So you need to be aware that your health department, your local city or county health department, will actually require that you have that permit as well. Now, in some states, of course, it would vary as to which department you need to speak with, but predominantly it's going to be the health department because of the fact that you are pretty much classified in the same realm as a restaurant on wheels in a sense. So the health department is another permit that you may or may not have thought about when you wanted to get into the food truck business. All right, last but of course not least, this is one that a few friends of mine that actually started a food truck were unaware of when they got up and running, and they did eventually have to get this done, and it was something that was brought to their attention. But fire certificates, okay, these are actually the local fire department will inspect or need to actually inspect your food truck to make sure that the equipment. A lot of them are not run, of course, off of electric, but they're run off of propane or gas, so it creates a potential fire issue. So the equipment that is on the truck itself would need to be inspected very intensely to make sure that it's hooked up properly by the fire department. Because, of course, you don't want to go to an event and then have your food truck not set up properly and an issue happens and, God forbid, someone gets hurt because it wasn't hooked up properly. So the fire department is another one who will inspect it, and they'll give you a certificate once they check that off and that everything is good to go. So I wanted to keep this video short and sweet and to the point and give you really 5 tips on how the licensing and permit aspects of a food truck is actually handled. And of course, in many states and cities, it varies slightly. So double check with your county or city at first, and then follow up with your state laws and regulations and make sure that you are following all of those. So if you have any questions about food trucks, if you're in the market to buy that used food truck and you want to get it up and running, make sure that it's legit and it's legal and operating properly, drop some comments down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.